As new areas in the US begin to open up after the coronavirus mask mandates are being lifted, we look at how different locations are responding, how different businesses are responding, and then finally, how the evolution of the mask mandates really started. This is your May 19th Not So News update. Please like and subscribe if you're looking for daily news content and dive on it. Starting us off from CBS News on Face the Nation, Fauci says CDC's updated mask guidance is based on the evolution of the science. Notably, we need to understand what science actually is. Science is really just a means of following the scientific method for how we ought to gather, knowledge that we're going to be sharing here. In terms of public policy, the way when we refer to that it should be informed by science is that we should say that there's some type of scientific study or whatever that infers the decisions that we're making. The reason why you do that is so that the things do not change. What I've been extremely frustrated, what I think most people on the right have been frustrated the last year, is that they've been talking about this evolution of science as if that's a thing that can actually happen. What we're not seeing in any of these stories is the original scientific studies that gave a reason for why the mask mandates were being continued, especially after vaccinations, and what scientific study contradicted that original study. They can give all the information they want about how they are no longer requiring the mask mandates, but that's not being dictated by science. It might be being dictated by scientists, but those are fallible agents. Coming from the actual article, Dr. Anthony Fauci, chief medical advisor to President Biden, said Sunday that updated mask guidelines for Americans who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 was based on the evolution of the science as the CDC learned more about the real-world effectiveness of the shots. The underlying reason for the CDC doing this was just based on the evolution of the science, Fauci said in an interview with Face the Nation on last week's announcement. But if in fact this serves as an incentive, for people to get vaccinated, all the better. I hope it does actually. So what we're seeing here is, and in every interview that I've been seeing with Fauci, he refuses to give any type of scientific study that is the basis for his decision. I have not seen that type of information coming out of the CDC, and I can only assume then that these decisions are being made based on politics rather than actual scientific study. This was being done originally. Even coming from factcheck.org, they're talking about the outdated Fauci video on face masks shared out of context. If you remember very early on, there was a clip where Fauci said that public officials should not wear masks. If we take a look at the actual story, quick take, an outdated video clip of Dr. Anthony Fauci is circulating on social media, giving the false impression that he's currently advising the public not to wear face masks. Fauci, like other health officials, recommends wearing face cloth covering when distance at least 6 feet can be maintained. In their full story on April 3rd, this would have been last year, the CDC and prevention reversed an earlier position of the use of face masks during COVID-19 pandemic and announced that it was now recommending that people should wear face coverings in public, citing new studies on the transmission of the virus that caused COVID-19. We now know from recent studies that a significant portion of individuals with coronavirus lack symptoms, and that even those who eventually develop symptoms can transmit the virus to others before showing symptoms. Notably, what they're missing in here that we would expect from the quote-unquote science is an actual scientific study that was given beforehand that made Fauci make his first declaration that he did not recommend face masks, and then the later study that overrides that original one. Normally that latter one would show what the flaw was in the knowledge of the original study. This is what we're missing, and this is what we have unfortunately gotten throughout this entire year, is no clarification on what type of scientific methods are being used for the process of making any type of declaration through the CDC. So, if we look at states like California and how they're reacting to these latest mandates, nothing changes. Mask on. Fully vaccinated Californians no longer need to wear a mask after June 15th. Notably, California is getting a lot of heat because it's waiting about a full month before it actually goes into removing their mask mandates, and they try to defend this. During a teleconference Monday morning, Dr. Mark Agili, Secretary of California Health and Human Services, said this will give Californians more time to get vaccinated and businesses more time to prepare for the change. Notably, what change does a business actually need to make besides, removing the signage on their door for like a mask isn't required? The 4-week period will give Californians time to prepare for the change while we continue our relentless focus on delivering vaccines, particularly in underserved communities. The CDC recently changed its recommendation for fully vaccinated people, saying they no longer need to wear masks in most public settings. We have all longed for this moment. We can get back to some sense of normalcy. And I think this is kind of interesting because here's an individual in California. This is Nadia Burke, who is a individual in California, and she writes the following. Last month, I was finally able to hug my mom for the first time in over a year. Last week, I went for a walk with a friend and was able to hug her goodbye without the nagging fear of passing on a potentially deadly virus. But you don't have to be a hugger like me to benefit from social connection. Research shows that people who feel more connected to others have lower levels of anxiety and depression, higher self-esteem, and greater empathy for others. It is literally good for our mental and physical well-being, and it is something that's been absent from us all for so long. This is something that the right has been routinely outcrying about the last year. I know notably this comes a lot from individuals like Dennis Prager, who talk about what was the cost of us masking up. There are, obviously the potential health issues such as increase in addiction, increase in domestic abuse, stuff like that, increase in suicide. But what about just mental health for everyday Americans who aren't going all the way to potential death as a result of this virus? We've seen all the stories of individuals like Rachel Maddow who aren't even able to come back to normal life, saying that they need to rewire their brain. This is what is the result of the outcry that's been happening and the lack of actual basing of public policy decisions on science. Chicago, unlike California, is actually lifting their mask mandates. I think that's kind of interesting because Chicago is another one of the big left-wing areas. This is being reported by ABC. Chicago will follow Illinois' new season guidelines to lift the face mask mandate for fully vaccinated residents. Chicago Department of Public Health Commissioner Dr. Allison Arwady announced Tuesday. Dr. Arwady said that the mask will still be maintained in all city of Chicago buildings. Masks will also be required in all healthcare settings, schools, correctional facilities, and on public transportation. Dr. Arwady said the city strongly advises for face masks to be worn in indoor settings at places that are unable to verify vaccine status until the city reaches phase 5 of reopening. The big question here is, why is there that last issue? Why do you, as a individual that's been vaccinated, be required or even recommended to wear a mask in an indoor setting? It makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm perfectly fine with going out in public, and if I interact with someone that's unvaccinated, they try to spread to me, it's not going to spread because I'm vaccinated. That should be the logic of how vaccines work, and that's not how these vaccines work. Then I'm sorry, but that's not a vaccine. At some point we need to say either trust the science or say that the science is all just fake on this. These types of mandates, in my opinion, undermine the potential resource of the vaccines, and someone needs to make a decision. Are the vaccines good or bad? Notably, coming from CBS Boston, there's a list of stores that are no longer requiring face masks for fully vaccinated customers. Just a couple of these. I originally heard about this through Dave Rubin, who said he was able to go into Trader Joe's in LA without a mask, even though they are still having the mask mandate in LA. And we will see what recourse comes from that. I am expecting public officials in LA to start to do some type of lockdowns. We will begin seeing a police presence, if I were to guess, and I'm assuming anyone that is on the ACAB side will not be doing an outcry. But here's the list of companies I've said they're no longer going to be requiring face masks. These include Trader Joe's, Walmart, Target, Starbucks, Sam's Club, CVS, Costco, BJ's, and Kohl's. And notably from CNN Business, they give a couple others. Sorry if these are double counted, but from CNN Business, they have Target, Home Depot, CVS, Best Buy, and Macy's. For most of these, they are still requiring workers to wear masks, but they're saying customers are recommended but not required. I do think that this will potentially save a couple of these businesses, and I know individuals on the right are absolutely tired of being told what to do, especially when we don't see the science. We are looking for the evolution of the science, so to speak. I want to see the studies, and unfortunately they just routinely do not get cited when talking about these types of issues. And this is your May 19th Not So News update. Once again, please like and subscribe if you're looking for daily news content, and have a good one.